What is up, guys? It is Drop here back with another video. Today is a little different from what I usually do. This one's probably going to be a little more dry, but if you're serious about learning land navigation, this is foundational stuff, and it matters. If you're new to the channel, I'm an active duty Green Beret using gaming and YouTube as a means to recruit and mentor people who wish to join the Green Berets or SOF in general. In this video, I'm going to teach the fundamentals of land navigation step by step. Then we're going to reinforce those concepts using a video game literally called Landnav. The goal here isn't to turn gaming into a gimmick, it's to give you a low-risk, repeatable way to build understanding before you ever step foot in the woods with a map and a compass. This video is going to be long, so I've included timestamps throughout the video, so if you want to jump to a specific technique, concept, example, or you just need to watch a 20-minute section at a time, return later, feel free to do that. This is meant to be a resource you can come back to, not just something you watch once. We'll start with the basics, how to think about terrain, direction, movement, route planning, all these concepts, and then apply those ideas in the game so you can see how everything connects. Once you're comfortable doing it virtually, you'll be in a much better position to do it for real. At the end of the video, I'll walk through practical tips and safety considerations for taking these skills into the woods, how to practice land navigation responsibly, deliberately, and without getting yourself into trouble. So if you're here to actually learn and not just be entertained, stick with me and let's build a solid foundation. All right, here comes the dry part of the video because we are going to do this the exact same way I teach it in real life when I'm doing it for my job. We're going to do the crawl, walk, run. This is the crawl phase. We're going to go through this PowerPoint step by step. It is going to explain some things that if you're already in the military, maybe you already know some land nav, you're going to be like, why is he talking about this? It's because I have to do the blanket, right? There's people that might be watching this video that have never even looked at a map. So yes, we are even going to talk about the colors of a map. So without further ado, this is land navigation. This is our task. We're going to learn how to read a map. These are our conditions. This is our standard. And you can just feel free to pause and read this stuff if you care. Here's the references. TC3 TAC 25.26. Map reading and land navigation. You do not have to buy somebody's book. The Army has already made one for you. You can use that TC in conjunction with this video and many other videos on YouTube in order to figure out what you're doing. That is also the link to Army Pubs. It is an open source website that has all the Army publications that we have. So if you're looking to get into the military, or if you're already in the military and you haven't checked this out, you need to get a doctrine. It is what it is. This is our agenda. We're going to talk about the parts of the map, identifying terrain features, how to use a protractor, how to plot a point on a map, obtaining a grid azimuth, compass techniques, and land navigation techniques. So the parts of the map, you have your name, your series number, scale, legend, contour interval, bar scale, declination diagram, grid reference box, and additional information. We're about to go into all these. Marginal information, all it is all the things on your map, right? So your legend, your scale, all that stuff. We're going to show you all that. Map symbols, symbology represent patterns of distribution that occur in reality. A symbol must be clear and concrete in order to be able to recognize it easily within the map, right? All that is saying, here's a symbol of a church, whatever the symbol might be, according to the legend, shows it on the map so that you know in real time and space where it's at, what it is. More marginal information. The geographic area and scale is going to be on the top left. Name of map sheet, top center. Map edition, map series, and map sheet number, top right. Legend's going to be in the bottom left. Bar scale, contour interval, grid reference box, and declination diagram will be in the bottom center. And the elevation guide, adjoining map sheet diagram, and boundaries box will be in the bottom right. We're going to go over these, but this is just so you can reference this if you need to in the future. Start by studying what each line, symbol, and color means. These are your 6 basic colors. Black is your cultural or man-made features other than roads. Blue is water. Brown is all relief features. Green is vegetation. Red is major roads, built-up areas, and special features on old maps. Red-brown is all relief features and main roads on red-light readable maps. Any additional information will be contained in the map legend. Map scales. The map scale tells you how detailed your map is. This is just a quick breakdown. So you'll notice on your protractor when we get into it later, there's going to be 3 different scales, right? Those little triangles that you use to actually dial in your plot point on a grid square. This will make sense later if you don't understand what I'm talking about. You have to know what scale of map you're using and match it to the correct scale on that protractor. Okay, so the map scale tells you how detailed your map is. A 1 to 24,000 scale means 1 inch equals 24,000 inches in reality. So an inch on the map is 24,000 inches on the ground. And then you just take that to every number, 1 over 65, 1 over 50. Doesn't matter. Okay? This is your legend. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Your legend's just going to show you what it looks like on the map. So for example, you have these thick brown divided roads here. That means divided highway with a median strip. That's all that means. And you just go by one. If you see a symbol on the map and you're just like, I don't know what that is, what am I looking for? Like this square that's half, colored in. Hey, that's a mine shaft. Cool, good to know. Right? So you don't need to necessarily look at this legend and study it and learn it. You just need to know if you're looking at something on your map and you don't know what it is, you just come to this legend and it will tell you. Contour interval and grid reference box. So this is going to tell you your contour interval. So on this map, for example, it's 10 meters. Well, I'll show you in just a minute what the contour interval lines look like and everything, but all this is saying, and I'll reiterate it when we get to it, is every contour line you see is either an increase or a decrease of 10 meters. So from one contour interval line to the next. And I'll get into that more. There's your bar scale, right? This is where it's going to tell you your scale of your map, whether it's 1 over 25, 1 over 50, etc. Right? So this one is 1 over 50. And then you have your scale here that will help you measure, which will be super easy to show in the game, but helps you measure your distance, right? So starts at 0, and then it tacks back in 100-meter increments over to 1,000 on the left. Or if you need to jump in gigantic 1,000-meter increments, right, you can do it over here. So you have it in meters, yards, miles, nautical miles. But for MGRS purposes, military land navigation, you're going to use meters. Declination, this one's super important. This is one of the 2 biggest mistakes I see people make when they are doing their plotting and everything. Because long story short, all of this stuff leading up to you finally standing up with your compass and moving out, if you fuck up one thing in this entire process, you're going to get lost. So I always tell people, to me, Landnav is easy. There's just a lot of steps you can fuck up, which is why the game, I think, is going to be really good, because you can really dial in your process for the most part. There's a couple nuanced things that you can't do in the game, right, that you can do in real life, and I will discuss that when we get to it. But for the most part, you can dial in your process in that game and make it repeatable so that when you go out to do it for real, you at least aren't focusing so much on those steps and you already know how to do it, and you can at least make a good route plan and plot properly and make your good plan, so that when you do step off, now you're just practicing your actual, from step off to point. So in the continental U.S., declination can vary from nearly 20 degrees east in places on the west coast to nearly 20 degrees west in places on the east coast. When you're navigating in the wilds, degrees matter. 15-degree error, for example, on a 1-mile-long hike puts you a quarter of a mile away from your destination. Okay, so basically, we're going to get into it more, but you're going to plot your point, shoot your azimuth on your map, and then when you go to shoot it on your compass, it's going to be different because of this declination diagram. Because again, the magnetic difference is different from your grid, right? Your magnetic azimuth versus your grid azimuth. Those are going to be 2 different azimuths because the map doesn't take into consideration reality, right? It's just a map. It's just a piece of paper. And then the 15-degree error, right? To put that into context, if you've shot a pistol, right? And you understand fundamentals of pistol shooting and how every single little micro mistake will make your round go left, right, top, bottom of where you're trying to shoot. It's the exact same thing. So the further you are away from that target, that small mistake, if you make the exact same mistake at 10 meters versus 20 meters on that shot, your shot is going to be further off at that 20 meters, right? Because it just has more distance to drift, right? So it's the exact same thing with Landnav. You are just walking like a bullet is shooting towards a target. And the more you drift, the further you're walking, the further away you're going to be. So this is the declination diagram, right? So over here it tells you your grid to magnetic angle, which in this map is 8 degrees, okay? To convert a magnetic azimuth to a grid azimuth, so if you shoot an azimuth with your compass, and then you go down on your map and shoot a azimuth on your map, right, where you're looking, you need to add this GM angle on your map. So if you shoot an azimuth with your compass and it's 0 degrees arbitrarily, right, and you go down to plot that azimuth on your map, you now have to add 8 degrees to the 0 degrees, which will give you 8 degrees, and then shoot that azimuth on your map, okay? To convert a grid azimuth to a magnetic azimuth, subtract this GM angle. So again, if you are shooting an azimuth on your map, right? For instance, when you're plotting and making your route before you step off, you have to convert that when you stand up and pull your compass out, right? So if you shoot that azimuth on your map and it is 8 degrees and you stand up and pull your compass out, you have to subtract this GM angle from that 8 degrees, which will give you 0. So you will actually shoot a 0 degree azimuth. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, it's going to be explained more in the route planning considerations, and then I'm literally going to show it to you step by step in the game. That's what I love about that game. And make sure when you check this, I know I'm spending a lot of time on this, but I'm telling you, this is one of the 2 biggest things I see people fuck up, and this will make you so lost. Read this every time you get a new map, because depending on where you're at in the world, this changes. Magnetic to grid, you can add and you can subtract. It just depends on where you're at. There's like a way to know, right? But I'm a stupid Bravo, so I don't even care about it. It's arbitrary to me. It fucking tells you on the map. Just read it every time you pick up a new map. What does this map need me to do? Boom, it's right here. Read it. Do I add or subtract, right? Going from grid to magnetic or magnetic to grid, all right? Terrain features. You have your 5 major: hill, valley, ridge, saddle, depression. You can remember that with the fancy little Army acronym: hidden, valley, ranch, salad, dressing, if you care. Your 3 minors are your draws, your spurs, your cliffs, and your 2 supplementals, which are your cut and your fills. All right, how contour lines describe terrain. Simple trail maps are useful for trip planning, but not for navigation in the field. Topographic maps go further, giving you the power to visualize 3-dimensional terrain from a flat piece of paper. The feature that makes this possible is the contour lines, because those are the lines that are going to tell you the elevation changes. How contour lines indicate the steepness of terrain. Contour lines connect points that share the same elevation. That's why hills look like circles, right? Because as the hill is getting higher and that circle is closing in, those are the points of elevation that are exactly the same all around that hill, right? So where they are close together, elevation is changing rapidly in a short distance, right? And the terrain is steep. And I have examples of this, but where contour lines are wide apart, elevation is changing slowly, indicating a gentle slope, right? So just remember, the contour line intervals tell you the difference in elevation between one contour interval to the next, right? So obviously the closer together they are, right, the faster that elevation change happens, right, as far as distance goes. So the further away they are, the longer it takes for that elevation change to happen, right? So it makes it less steep. How contour lines also indicate the shape of the terrain. Roughly concentric circles are probably showing you a peak, and areas between peaks are passes. Studying a topo map of a familiar area is a great way to learn how to match terrain features with the contour lines on a map. So, you can go on mytopo.com and you can get a military map of anywhere in the United States. So what this is kind of saying is, if you have a wooded area or just an area that you are very familiar with, right, where you live, buy a map of that area, and literally, if you know where a hill is at, walk to the hill. This is what we call a terrain walk when you go to SFAS. They will do this for you at SFAS. Go to the hill, pull out your phone or whatever. You ain't got to make it complicated. You don't have to Landnav to it. Just go to the hill you're familiar with, pull out your phone, pull an 8-digit grid off your phone, plot it on the map, see where you are, and look at that hill in reality and look at that hill on the map. And then just look at the surroundings. And you can do that with every single terrain feature we just went over. Okay? Index contour lines. Every 5th contour line is a thicker index line. At some point along that line, its exact elevation is listed. So this is how you know what the elevation of all the contour lines are these index contour lines. Contour interval is the change in elevation. I've already described that. So in this example, your contour interval, excuse me, I got burping. You have your contour interval of 80 feet, right? And the index contour lines right here show 1440 for this elevation, right? And as you can see, it's a circle, right? Because this entire perimeter is that elevation. And then at the very top of the hill, right? That is the very top you'd be standing on. It's 1840. Now, if you take this 80 feet and you simply apply it to each contour interval line, you will see that it's an 80-foot difference between each contour line. And you can even do the math if you really want to see what the elevation of the, contour lines in between. So from 1440 here, right, the next one would be 1480, and so on and so forth, all the way to the 1840. So this side of the hill, right, remember I said these contour interval lines, when they're closer together, it's steeper, right? So this is super steep. So if I needed to attack this hill for a point, I wouldn't want to walk from this direction, right? I guess you could, like if you want to, but I probably want to come in from either the left side or this right side here, or the east and west side, right? Because these have a lot more space between them. So this is going to be a much more gentle slope than this side, all right? Every once in a while, a circle indicates a depression rather than a peak. A circle with tick marks on the inside of it indicates a depression, okay? These are usually man-made. I have personally, honestly, in all the Landnav I've done, never seen one on the map in the area I've Landnaved in, but I will show you an example of what that looks like. So this is a hilltop, right? You can see from the side, that's a gigantic hill, and this is what it looks like on the map, right? These big outer contour lines are the bottom part of the map here, of the hill here, right? And as you go up the hill, these circles get closer and closer and closer as you go up the hill, right? A way you can visualize this, if this isn't enough for you, is you can take one of those shaker cup balls. That is the perfect representation of a hill. You can compress that ball flat, and it will look exactly like what it looks like on the map from the top down. You'll see the circles on the outside, and they get smaller and smaller and smaller as you get to the center of the ball. And then you can look at it from the side, release the ball up, and you'll see the hilltop, right? So this is what you see on your map, right? We've already kind of seen a hill, but just another example. These are what the hilltops look like. This is the side of it, right? Shows you the elevation changes from 1440 to the 1840. And it even ticks it on the side, right? So that's showing you each contour interval line takes you up this hill. And then as I described before, this west side, these contour lines are closer, so the hill is steeper over here. And on these spurs here, right, the contour lines are more spaced apart, so this would be a better side to walk up. Right, same with this one. Valley, you got your valley here, right? just a low point between two hills, essentially. You got your ridge, right? Everybody knows what a ridge line is, right? What you see on your map for a saddle, right? Just like a horse saddle, right? There's two hilltops, you got the middle. This is that depression, right? So you might see this circle and think, oh, it's a hilltop. Nope, because it has these tick marks coming inside. Coming inside. Because it has these tick marks, right? It's a depression, which means it drops down in elevation. Like I said, these are typically man-made. This is not something you typically see like in a natural environment. But there might be some part of the world where it does. I'm not claiming to be an expert on fucking geography. I've just never seen one in real life, and every time I have seen one, even on a practice map, it's been in some sort of industrial area type thing. This is that spur, right? These are good places to walk typically. It's just kind of a point where the hill kind of juts out, right? Draws, these are super low points with water. These are what everybody hates at SFAS. Some people say don't bust them. Some people do. Get out there and practice and see what works for you. There are certain draws that are just impassable, whether you like it or not, but that's just something you get better at with time. A cliff, all right, when these contour lines converge in the same point and connect, right, and then it becomes one line with these tick marks pointing or facing out, and then splits off again into more contour lines. This is a cliff, right? You definitely want to know this one, because if you're land nabbing, especially at night, and you make a route that goes through one of these, you might want to know that, because at night you might not see this motherfucker, and then you'll just die. And this is just examples of some of the stuff we've looked at on a big map. This one's not very good, honestly. This one shows the sparse vegetation versus the dense, but like this isn't green. But the way you could tell without like the color-coded like vegetation is these draws, right? These low water points here, these are the draws, right? And there's always going to be disgusting vegetation around that just because of all the water collection. The Protractor, all right. This is the one you want to get, this GTA TAC 5, TAC 2, TAC 12, okay? Measures azimuths. You have mills on the outside. You will never use those. I won't say never. You are probably never going to use those, right? You're definitely not going to use it for land nav. And the inner edge is the degrees, right? So that's what you're going to use. The 0 all the way around to 360 on the inside, not these outside numbers. You have your three scales, 1/25, 1/50, 1/100,000. That's what I was talking about, those three triangles, right? You want to make sure you're using the right one for the right map. And the crosshairs, right here in the center, used to aid in plotting an azimuth, because you can line these up with the grid lines, right? And then you can run your piece of paper or your string with your 550 cord through it. I might show that trick later, just for the people who haven't seen it. Grid coordinates, the grid zone designators, those are the two letters that prefix prior to grid coordinates. This kind of won't be too important to you at like a small scale land navigation thing, right? Because if you're just using, your one specific map of the area, you're probably only going to have one grid zone designator in that map to begin with. This is more for like bigger planning things where you have a bunch of maps conjoining that might have different grid zone identifiers, or maybe you're looking at multiple points in the world for whatever reason, right? Arbitrary, I'm going off the rails here. But anyways, that's found in the grid reference box if you need it. Then you have your three major grids, right? Your 4-digit will get you within 1,000 meters of a point. Your 6-digit will get you within 100 meters of a point. And your 8-digit grid will get you within 10 meters of a point. There's a 10-digit grid that will get you within 1 meter, but you will not use that with a map, compass, and protractor, because it's just impossible to do by, human. 10 digits are for all your fancy digital tools, like your Garmin's and stuff. Okay, so you always start in the bottom left. You always go right and then up. The reason that you do that is some maps might have, at specific points, they might have the same number twice on a map, right? So one number might be in the bottom right-hand corner, and then the same number might be in the upper left-hand corner. So if you read the first grid going up, you're going to go to the wrong box immediately, right? So always read right, then up. If you can't remember why, just always remember read right, then up, and you'll just never be wrong. Cool? Cool. Okay. Utilize vertical running grid lines first, right? That's going right. Then utilize the horizontal grid lines second, going up. So in this example, you have a 4-digit grid, right? So you have 28 and 67. We're going to start with the 4-digit because then it's going to build on the 8 and it'll make more sense, right? So your first 2 digits of each section are going to tell you which grid square you're going to. So 28, you're going to start at the bottom left. You're going to go right until you hit 28, right? And then you're going to go up until you hit 67, right? And then this is the intersecting line that you're at. And the grid that you're looking at is always going to be, again, right and up, right? So it's going to be this grid square right here, right? That's the corner that you end up going to. Oh, it doesn't show it, but that's the corner you end up going to. And this, I should have highlighted it, but it's fine. This is the grid square you are going to use. Hopefully you can see my mouse. Obtaining a grid azimuth. You're going to plot your start point and objective point on the map. Center the crosshairs of a protractor on the start point. Ensure that the protractor is parallel with the map. Use the lines on the protractor with the grid lines on the map. Utilize a straight edge. You can use the scale on the compass or 550 cord gut that I was talking about earlier on the protractor from the crosshairs of the protractor to the objective point. And again, I might either tag a video of somebody already doing this that you can use, or I'll just make my own. You can make a penciled line on the map. Look at the inner portion of the protractor in degrees where the lines cross. That is your azimuth. Okay, this might not make sense reading it, but again, we're in the walk phase, so I'm going to describe it first, then we're going to show it, and then in the game, I'm going to show it even more. Do not forget to convert from grid to magnetic using that declination diagram. That is super important. So, obtaining a grid azimuth. You're going to, this is like the final plot, right? You've figured out where you're at, and you figured out where you're going. So now you need to give yourself an azimuth to know which direction you're going to start walking in. So you're going to put those crosshairs directly on your start point. Then you're either going to take your piece of paper or your 550 cord guts, and you are going to line it out to the objective you are trying to go to. Then, utilizing the inner degrees, not the outer mils, you're going to use the inner degrees, and where that line bisects whatever number this says on your degrees, that is going to be your azimuth. So in this case, it looks like it's 36, 37, right? We'll call it 36 arbitrarily. 36 degrees, I was right. And then you have to convert it, right? So in this example, if I shot this 36 degree azimuth and I was like, okay, I need to walk in a 36 degree direction in order to get to my objective. If we use the 8 degrees from the declination diagram in the PowerPoint earlier, all you would do is stand up, get your compass out, and you would add 8 degrees to 36, which would give you a minute, 44 degrees, okay? So 44 degrees is actually what you would shoot on your compass. If you stood up and forgot to do that and shot 36 degrees, you would be off by 8 degrees over how many freaking clicks is this? Roughly like 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks. You're literally going to be off by, you're going to be over here. Like, no joke. You're going to be so far off, it's going to be insane. So you need to make sure you remember that. Okay, this is a military compass, right? You have an index line at the top. Honestly, this is easier to describe in the game, so I'll probably just do that. Dead reckoning, all right? Determine a direction and stay on azimuth until the objective is reached. That is, you are buried in that compass pretty much the whole time. You need your compass, your pace count. It's good for periods of limited visibility, thick vegetation, and featureless terrain. This is true. If you are in a flat desert and for some reason you need a land nav out there. BLC, for example, was held in Kuwait while I was there, and you had to do land nav out there, and it was nothing but open, flat desert. There's no terrain to even go off of. That is an example where you have to dead reckon. You have no choice. So yeah, the terrain can determine that. Use the center hold method. Look at the compass frequently during day movement or during movement. Stay on azimuth and use steering points when possible, right? Yeah, so pretty much you take like 20 steps, you check your compass. You take 20 steps, you check your compass. You take 20 steps, you check your compass. However many steps you think you need to do, right? Okay, so compass to cheek method, right? I will show you better in the game. The game does a pretty decent job of showing this, but this is a way for you to shoot your azimuth. This is really good for dead reckoning. Took me a second to remember what the hell that was called, Jesus. Dead reckoning, right? When you need to actually dial in and no shit be like on your azimuth. This is a great method to use. The reason that I say like it's good for really dialing in on that azimuth, you might be like, well, shouldn't you be dialed in on your azimuth the whole time? I will get into that with route planning, but not necessarily. You can, but it's going to make you incredibly slow. And I highly recommend that you practice and get good at terrain association to a certain point. And like I said, I will dig more into that in the route planning considerations. Compass to chest method, this is what I use mostly, especially when I'm doing my terrain association. Hey, I need to go 36 degrees. I pull it out just like this, right? Look at it real quick. 36, 37, 35, good enough. Keep walking because I'm really using the terrain to tell me where I'm going. And I'm just using this azimuth to kind of, make sure I'm just walking in the right direction. Pace count. This is also a pretty good explanation in the game, but I'm just going to talk through it. To determine your pace count, walk a straight line distance. For simplicity, 100 meters is the norm for finding a pace count. Step off with the right foot and count every time your left foot hits the ground, or vice versa. Count steps walking to the 100-meter point and back from the 100-meter point and give yourself your average. So if you walk out 100 meters and you get 50, and you walk back and you get 52, you can just split the difference and call it 51. That's your pace count, right? Ensure that normal walking speeds are utilized. Now, there's a lot of nuances you can do to this if you want. There's a difference between your pace count when you're slick. There's a difference between your pace count with your rucksack on. There's a difference between your pace count in full kit with your rucksack. There's a difference in your pace count, in the mountains versus forest, desert versus, whatever. There's a difference between day and night, right? But typically, you just get your 100-meter pace count in normal terrain, like through some normal wooded area. And then as you do more land nav, you'll kind of get better at knowing, how your pace count changes. That's, in my opinion, that's kind of something you just need to get out and just get used to know. Factors affecting your pace. I already talked about some of this, but you can pause and read it if you'd like. All right, now we're going to start talking about some things to consider while making your route plan, right? And I'm not going to go into terrible detail on the route planning on the PowerPoint because I think it'll be easier to explain and show in the game. I'm just literally going to play one of the maps and I'm going to play the whole thing and I'm just going to show you what I do step by step. But these are the things we're going to talk about that you need to include in your route plan. We're going to talk about it so you know what I'm talking about when I build my route plan. And again, you can come back and reference these whenever. So a checkpoint. So you have your direction of travel and you have a checkpoint. It is a defined, easily identifiable feature on the map and the ground and is used to confirm your location during movement. Linear is always best, right? So a checkpoint is just a spot on the map and the ground. For instance, this road, and I'm going to give a little caveat in a second, but this road right here is a good checkpoint, right? If you're traveling from this direction and I have 400 meters to the road with pace count, azimuth, and the road, you can know that you're going in the right direction, right? So for example, you walk your 400 meters and you hit this road. You're like, okay, so two things have lined up. This is a road, which is the checkpoint feature, and I have traveled 400 meters, which is exactly what I measured out on my map. Now, you can be cool with that and keep going. If you want to add a third check to be super safe on your map, you can get your azimuths down this road. So when you hit it, you can pull out your compass, shoot your azimuths down the road, and you can be like, sick. The azimuths also match up. Keep in mind, you also have to do that declination diagram difference, right? So if this is 100 degrees north and this is 100 degree, or 180 degrees, 0 degrees north and 180 degrees south, then when you pull out your compass, you have to do that declination change of 8 degrees, or you might confuse yourself, right? Attack points. Okay, so this is really what we use when I talk about, like, to me, my method, right? And there's multiple methods to Landnav, just like shooting, just like CQB, just like pretty much anything. But my method is I pretty much do terrain association all the way to my attack point. And then from my attack point to my final point is where I dial in and I do a good dead reckoning, right? So an attack point is a well-defined, identifiable feature on the map and ground near the end point. It is best within 400 meters of the target, but that is not always viable, so do what you can. But the closer you can get an attack point to the objective, the better, obviously. Then you proceed on a deliberate magnetic azimuth combined with pace count to the endpoint, which is basically dead reckoning, and it gives you a greater probability of finding your target. Handrails or boundaries. To me, handrail boundary is different. I'll explain why. So, what this does is it controls your drift, and it's an easily identifiable terrain feature or object, which provides the navigator a limit of advance, right, and prevents constant compass and map checks. That kind of goes into the terrain association, right? That's what you're doing. So in this example, we want to get to our attack point, right, which is this bend in the road, right? How do I know if I'm going too far left or too far right? These handrails, right? I have a body of water over here. That one's super easy. If I hit the body of water, that is my left limit. On the right here, we have an MSR, or main service road. So if I go too far right and I hit this road, then I also know I've gone too far right and I just have to come back in, right? This is kind of a bad example for the reason of you can accidentally slip through here, right, or something, but let's just say this road goes straight across. Hey, there's a T intersection, right, and that's where you want it to be. These handrails are really good. There are also methods that you can use to avoid this problem of accidentally slipping through, right? Your pace count will help you. Understanding the width of these handrails. So it's like if you accidentally walk over here and you're not paying attention and you're like, oh, I have a road on my right, right? You might mistake that for this road, especially at night. But then if you bounce back in and you're like, wait a minute, it's only been like 100. I only walked 100 meters back in and, oops. I've only walked 100 meters back in and now I'm hitting this body of water. This must be that super thin area. Oh crap, I overshot it. I accidentally went between this road and the thing, right? So those are just simple things that, like, when I talk about later on, when I talk about route planning and all that stuff, I'll kind of describe some scenarios, but it can be kind of like contingency planning, right? Like you can go down a rabbit hole of like what can go wrong while land nabbing, but you kind of just have to get out in the woods and start doing it to start making those mistakes and then figuring out how you're going to fix them. Backstops, also super important. These are linear terrain features or man-made objects used to prevent overshooting your target. So, this would be your first backstop, right? Say your point is back here in the woods. The more you can have, the better, right? Or you can use any of them, right? Maybe your point's in between, doesn't matter. But this is just showing you can use a railroad, right? You can use a road, you can use a body of water. This is where, like, if your point's right here, right, and you're walking through the woods, walking, blah, 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 maybe your pace counts off a little, and you hit this railroad, you're like, ooh, I know for a fact my point is not on the other side of this railroad. Let me figure out what I did wrong, go back, do whatever, right? Back azimuth. This back azimuth is super important to understand because this is how you keep from over wandering, if that makes sense, right? So if you go somewhere say you hit your backstop, right? You're like, oh crap, I've gone too far. What happened? Well, maybe you want to go back where you came from and just kind of restart. Well, how are you going to do that? You're going to get your back azimuth. So a back azimuth is taken from a distant point towards your location. Used in resection, we'll kind of talk about that, but I've never had to use it. I've never met anybody who's had to use it. Number is less than 180 degrees. You'll just add 180 degrees. A number is greater than 180 degrees, you will just subtract. So all this does is if you're on an azimuth of, we'll say 0 degrees arbitrarily, and you hit your backstop, you're like, oh crap, I need to go back. This is how you go back perfectly in line the way you came. So since it's 0, you'll just add 180, which will just put you at 180, right? So you'll turn around, put your azimuth at 180 degrees, and just start walking back where you came from. Again, this just makes it so you walk back exactly in line. So if it's, 34 degrees arbitrarily, right? You're walking 34 degree azimuth, you hit your backstop, you're like, oh crap, I need to go back. You will take that 34 degrees, you will add 180 degrees, which will give you 214 degrees, and that is the direction you will walk in to go back the way you came. Hopefully that makes sense. Night land navigation. The basic technique for night land navigation is dead reckoning with several compass checks, depending on the person and the terrain. Smaller steps are taken during the night, typically, and success in night land navigation depends on a detailed analysis of the map to determine the type of the terrain where the route will take place, and predetermined azimuths and distances. Some people are super scared of night land nav. I don't know. For me, nothing changes. I just can't see. But with good terrain association and everything, I still just I do the same thing. Maybe a couple more compass checks just to verify I'm not drifting too hard. But other than that, even my steps, I don't really take smaller steps, but I also trip a lot, which might be why. So it's just person dependent, but these are the things to consider for night land nav. I do not recommend you do night land nav on your own unless you are incredibly confident and you have a really good plan, but do not do any land navigation on your own until you are extremely comfortable doing it during the daytime. All right, so now we get to the gaming portion of the video. So I'm going to start off with a little disclaimer. First of all, this game is called Landnav. It is on Steam for $30 and it does not go on sale. So if you're gonna try to wait for a sale, you're probably never going to see it. I held out till Christmas. I was like, Christmas has to have a sale. Didn't have a sale. So I said, fuck it and bought it because I've been putting this video off for a long time because I've been waiting for it to go on sale like a cheap ass. Yeah. But anyways, the second thing is the developer of this game has like health issues or his family has health issues. It doesn't matter. I feel bad for the guy, whatever's going through, but he's just not working on the game anymore. So this development progress is a total lie. This is the game. There's probably not going to be any more to it. But what I will say is even with that, there's a couple of quality of life things and, other tools that he could add that would really help make the game better and help make your land nav better when you go out to do it. However, I will say even with where it's at right now, I still think this is a perfectly good tool to use. And I would recommend that if you're trying to learn some land nav on your own, before somebody else actually teaches you, I do recommend that you use this. What it will do, in my opinion, is just get you good at your methodical process of plotting properly, making a good route plan, and doing your pace count with your ranger beads, and doing your azimuth check when needed. It will also, in my opinion, at least help you start to get good at terrain association. It is not going to make you a master at terrain association, probably. You need to get out in the actual woods and start doing it. But I do think it will make you better at it than, just going out there and doing it. And for those reasons, I do think this is a good tool to use. Specifically the plotting, route planning, methodical, like step to step to step to step, converting, right, your grid to magnetic azimuth, huge. If you can get good reps on that using this game so you don't fucking forget it out in the field, especially at a place like SFAS where you've got weight on your back and you're fucking tired, that is where you're going to forget it. The more hammered in you have your sequence, right, for Landnav, the better off you will be. Because when you're tired, you will automatically do it because you've already done it so many times. That is where I think this is the most helpful for the tool. Where it's not helpful is mostly the walking in the woods portion, right? Trying to do this while you're fatigued, trying to do this while you have weight on your back. That is something you're going to have to get out in the woods to do and experience and, you know, get better at not letting it fuck you up. But without further ado, I just loaded up a military exercise. So I'm just going to show you what I would do if this was me. If I was candidate roster number 095 and I had my gear, was ready to go, I got my scorecard, and I got the launch signal from the cadre, what would I do? First thing I would do, orient myself north. Luckily, I'm already basically facing that way. Okay? Second thing I would do is take off my pack, set it down on the ground. I would put my weapon on top of it so I didn't accidentally leave it, and then I would lay down in the prone, get nice and comfy, pull out my map. Again, we are oriented north. This is going to help you when you are plotting everything. I promise you, I know that you shoot azimuths and stuff, but if your body is oriented north with your map, it just helps your brain map your route better. I promise you, you just have to trust me on that. That should be the first thing you do, is orient yourself north. The next thing we have to do is obviously figure out where we're at. So in the game, you have this notepad, and you have a start point. Your end point is the exact same point you start at, just like pretty much any Landnav exercise. And then these are all the checkpoints in between. So I'm just going to walk to the first one is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to show, well, maybe I'll do them all. Screw it. I'll do every single one of them. And this will just be a really long video, and you can watch it as long or as little as you want. I don't care. I do it for the love of the game. So we're going to do all of these, right? We're going to walk to all these. We're not going to walk back to the end point, but we will walk to all these. I think they call them checkpoints. I don't know, but it's just point 1, 2, 3, and 4 is what it's going to be. These numbers here that are kind of like faded, these are the post numbers. So when you get to the point, that's going to let you know if you're at the right spot. The post number for the first point should be 1106. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is figure out where I'm at. So remember, 4-digit grid, we're going to read the first 2 numbers of each group. Now with the 4-digit grid, you might have been like, what the fuck does he mean by group? What I mean is, in this 8-digit grid, you can split it into 2 numbers, right? 0239 is the first group. 6836 is the second group. So you're going to read the first 2 numbers of both groups. That's going to give you your 4 digits. So 0268. So we come down, we read left to right, 02. Then we go up to 68, right? This is the intersecting lines that we are at. And just like right to up, this is the grid square we are now working in. Now to dial into our 8-digit, you will take out your protractor using the 1/50,000 scale triangle, because this map is 1/50,000. You will line up the bottom right corner of this triangle with the point that those grid lines intersected that you went to at 02 and 68, right? 02, 68, I gotta move it again. Then you will read the second set of numbers for each group. So it's going to be 39, 36. So the first number, 39, you are going to drag the protractor to the right until that vertical line lines up with 39. Then you're going to come back to this corner, and you are not going to move the protractor anymore. You are simply going to go up in real life using your pencil or whatever, and you're going to go up to 36. And that is going to put you typically right, or generally right here. Now in real life, you just plot it right next to the line. In the game, you have to put the protractor away and then plot. And the plot is also slightly to the left of your pointer, so I like to kind of cheat my mouse right a little when I'm plotting. But that's where we're at. I feel comfortable with that because we're obviously in the middle of an open field. So I feel good with that plot. Now, in the PowerPoint, I said one of the two biggest things that I see is people forgetting the declination diagram, right? Converting that GM angle. The second biggest thing I see people fuck up is their actual plot. If you plot this up here on accident, you're fucked. You're just fucked. You're going in the wrong direction. Yeah, you're fucked. Because even if your point's, you know, it's over here, right? And you're like, well, I'll just... No. Because your azimuth from here to here is going to be completely different than from here to here, right? So, I recommend you plot everything twice. I'm not going to because I'm super confident that I'm in the right spot, but highly recommend you plot everything twice. So now, what do we have to do? We have to figure out where we are going. So, point 1, we are going to read the first two numbers of each group. In this case, it's going to be 02, 68, right? So we go left to right, 02, up to 68. Okay, so we're in the same grid square, right? So we pull out our protractor, we line up the bottom right of the triangle, right? With where the grid lines intersect. Then we read the second set of numbers for each group. So it's going to be 99, 99, 51. So we're going to take the first number, drag the protractor right to 99, right? This is pulling us into our grid square where we're going to. Oh, and that's obviously off, but anyways, because that's on the other side of that grid line. So that's another thing that's probably wrong, is this protractor is not perfect, which is not the greatest, but it's fine. It's 99, so I mean, it's the edge of the freaking line anyway. And then we go up to what, 51? So we come up 5-1, so roughly right there. I call that good. Right there. So typically I'd make a route plan, but this is about 700 meters away. And there's really not a lot you can do with it. It's kind of pretty even terrain. It's going to be through the woods, but pretty even terrain all the way too. So I'm actually just going to demonstrate what a roughly 700, this is probably 600-700 meter dead reckoning shot looks like. Let's actually measure it. I'm going to show you how to do that. In the game, you have to use the compass because you don't have a piece of paper or 550 cord in the protractor that you can use. You can use this compass. Your compass, if you get the military grade one IRL, has this fucking scale on the side that you can use as well. So what I say, 600 meters. I'm pretty fucking smart. So yeah, this is going to be a 600 meter dead reckoning shot. So what I'm going to do is get my azimuth. So now we have where we're at and where we're going. So now I need to get the azimuth so I know what direction to walk, right? So you're going to center the crosshair over the point as best you can using the game. And then we are going to use our compass again, because again, we don't have a piece of paper or 550 guts. We are going to line this up, and it doesn't matter where it's at along it necessarily, but we are going to line this up with where we are at to where we are going, and then again, keep following it all the way to where it bisects these numbers. So I have 76. So that means we are going to walk 76 degrees for 600 meters. I pull out my notes. I write 76 degrees for 600 meters. Right? I'm going to double check that. Let me get my... Oh. I'm going to double check that. I'm thinking of a lot of numbers in my head right now while also trying to explain stuff. 76 degrees. Boom. Call that good. But are we walking 76 degrees for 700 or 600 meters? You tell me. What do we need to do? we need to convert it using the declination diagram first, right? We pull our notepad back out. On my map, for the grid, azimuth, I got 76 degrees. To convert a grid azimuth to a magnetic azimuth, we need to add the GM angle. The GM angle is 5 degrees. So I need to add 5 degrees to this. So we are actually going to shoot 81 degrees for 600 meters. Let's see if I plotted properly, I shot the proper azimuth, everything. Also, I'm going to show you how the pace count works. So if you see at the bottom of the screen, there's a 1. That is the first step of the pace count. You also have ranger beads. You open it with B. The bottom set of beads you drop with X, right? Those are 100-meter increments. The top beads you drop with Z, and those are 1,000-meter increments. These are super important, especially when you're tired, right? You will forget where you're at if you don't use these, probably. Especially with Dead Reckoning. So, you walk your 100 meters, you drop a bead, then you don't have to remember you walked 100 meters. You just go back to thinking about your pace count. You walk another 100 meters, you drop another bead. You don't have to remember you're at 200 meters. You just worry about your pace count. You walk another 100 meters. Oh, crap. How far have I gone? Oh, that's right. I have 2 beads down. So I'm now at 300 meters. That's the point of the ranger beads. Okay? Cool. So, double check. 81 degrees. Pull out our compass. Find 81 degrees. It is so fucking bright, but it is the inner numbers. The outer numbers are the mils, which you will never use. Use the degrees. So we go 81 degrees, and we start walking. Remember, we're going 600 meters. So we're Dead Reckoning, so all you have to do is worry about your pace count and stay on azimuth. 81 degrees. And actually, I'll use the other one because that's probably used IRL. $81 degrees. Keep going. It's gonna take us through. That's it, trying to simulate the rough terrain. Your guy will go off of azimuth. He will drift pretty decently. So when you get on the other side of rough terrain, and you need to do the same thing in real life because you're going to do the same thing. That's why he implemented it in the game. You need to make sure you're back on 81 degrees. Just walk. Oh, we hit 100. So we'll do that real quick. Keep going. We got 500 more meters to go. With trees, I just went left around one. One thing I haven't talked about is natural drift. So everybody has a natural drift for the most part. Very few people do not. Mine is right. So when I'm going around trees, I like to go left around a tree, and then right around a tree. That'll naturally kind of drift me left just a little to compensate for my natural drift right, if that makes sense. Yeah, if you don't have a natural drift, just alternate trees. Left, right, left, right, left, right. What you don't want to do is go to the same side of the tree every single time. Because whatever side you pick, it's going to naturally push you that way. And if you happen to drift right and go around the tree right, it's going to push you even further right over a long period of time. Right? So, back to my compass. Went through some rough terrain. 81 degrees. Go. Can't go around that apparently, so we'll just do that. Messes up your pace count a little, but it's not overly significant. Alright, went another 100 meters, pull out your ranger beads. And this is what I mean, this is the methodical thing that you can play this game and get good at. Okay, pull out my compass. Because this is the same, right? This is what you're going to do in real life. Walk my 100 meters. The game counts for you. You can change that in the settings as you get better. You want to test yourself. You can turn it off so you have to actually count yourself, which I highly recommend you do once you start feeling comfortable with your sequence and all that stuff. Still going 81 degrees. There's a lot of fallen bullshit. Gone another 100 meters. Alright, we're about halfway there. Allegedly. Pull out our compass. 81 degrees. Pretty much spot on, very nice. So just keep going. Hopefully the next point gives me a good terrain association route I can do. But this is a good dead reckoning example. So again, I went through some rough terrain. My guy naturally drifted. Come out on the other side. I just want to verify I'm still on 81 degrees. You can see why this is slower, right? Like, I'm constantly having to stop, check this compass, line it up, right? 81 degrees, keep going. More rough terrain. He's naturally drifting, it's fine. I fight it as best I can. I try to stay in a straight line. And when I finally come out on the other side, we will check our azimuth. That also messes with your pace count, so just keep that in mind. 81 degrees. See, we pushed really hard north and you couldn't even tell, right? Or I couldn't tell. Maybe you could watching it, but come out on the other side, 81 degrees. I might even have to do a search pattern at the end just because of that. 400, we have roughly another 200 meters to go. All right, 81 degrees. Walk it out, walk it out. Pull out our beads. We have gone 500 degrees, and there's a point right here. And I'd be willing to bet this is it. 1106. Check our objectives. Boom. Point 1, 1106. We walked literally right up on it. That's what I'm telling you, even in real life. That compass will not steer you wrong if you actually bury your face into it. And you do a good, honestly, you don't even need a good pace count technically, right? If you're buried in that compass, like, you're walking towards this point. You will get there, right? Pace count just really is good for helping you verify overshooting, undershooting, all that other stuff. Checkpoints, you know, if you're crossing a road, you know, it cross it at roughly 400 meters. It's just a way to help you verify that you've crossed the correct road and you're where you think you are, all that stuff. Okay, so we found the first point. So now we need to plot the second point. And this is something you could plot all of them right at once at the very beginning and roll through it. But you can also get to your next point. At SFAS, you're going to get 1 point. And you're going to walk to that point. And you're not getting your next point until you find that point. So just keep that in mind. But we will go to the next point now. So what I would do, orient myself north, right? Which is this way. Again, getting your methodical process, do it the same every time. I am oriented north. I will take my pack off. I will set my weapon down. I will get in the prone. I will get comfy. Maybe even have a little snacky poo with me, right? And then we know we're here because we found the stake. We will now make our way to our, well, we will now plot our next point. So point 2. We will read the first 2 numbers for each group. 02. I wish I could move that watch. Anyways, 02 and 68. So we read left to right. 02, 68. Okay, we're still in this grid square. We will pull out our protractor. Bring our triangle down to where it intersects, right? Read the second set of numbers, 8564. We will drag it right to 85. And then we will go up to 64. So 64 will be under that. So roughly right there. So that's super close. We're just going to dead reckon that too. Kind of unfortunate, but it's fine. we'll go to this one real quick, and then depending on how far this one is or this one, yeah, I might just cut all of this out because I don't think there's a need to see a bunch of Dead Reckoning, but we'll just keep going and see if it stays in. So, what do I need to do? I can get a distance, right? Never really hurts. However, it's, what, that's probably like 200 meters. I guarantee you, I bet you I could pull out my compass and walk northwest and find this without an azimuth. Let's try that. I'm just going to show you how not difficult close points are. So I need to go northwest for what? No more than 200 meters? Let's go. Okay. On the map you can see, I'll show you on the other side because all the fucking twigs and shit are going to be on the map. So we're going down into a small little draw. I really wish the draws were a little more defined, because you will know what a draw is on a map like out at Camp McCall. You will know. It's super easy to tell, but in this one it doesn't really give you all the water things that these draws should have, but it's fine. Can I even pull out my compass? No. Okay, so just keep going. Just get on the other side of this draw. Again, you go through some thick stuff. It is what it is. You'll be able to pull out your compass in the middle of a draw in real life, but now that we're on the other side, make sure we're still going northwest. So we turned pretty hardcore west, but that's fine. Northwest, keep going. What you can do is you see like, oh, that's that little dip that I just walked through. So now I'm like probably right here. So in another like 100 meters, I'll probably walk like right up on this point. I'm even gonna run. There it is. Look, I'm walking straight to it. That's a terrain association, I guess. That was a decent little mini example. Hopefully I'm in the right spot. Yep, 2072. Found it. So as you can see, it's so close, I can just be like, I'm just gonna go northwest. I don't even need a real azimuth. It's so close. And I know I'm gonna walk through, this is a draw. I guess all these are draws, probably. I can just figure that out in my head, but walk through a draw and then just check my azimuth, keep going, and I should walk right up on it, right? That's terrain association, essentially, right? So let's plot our third point. Let's see where it's at. I'm going to kind of speed this up. Nope, that's also 0268. Okay, that's still in this grid square. I'm going to go to this one because this is at least 0269. So let's see, 0269, that takes you to this one. Get out our, don't move that, move the protractor, right? And then 7643, so we go 76 up to 43. Yep, so like roughly right there. So now, here we go. It's a little better. We have like a one-click movement. Not even. It is 800 meters, but it's still more. And we might be able to do some real terrain association. So let's see. How would I attack this? I'm going to take all these other points off. I'm going to leave that one just as the start point, but these are the points we care about right now. So if I go straight north, I will hit this, major water point here. The Horton County Public Reservoir has a huge finger that comes off. It looks like I will go through a couple of draws, right? That is going to lead into all these draws. And I guess with no water symbols, that's how you can know, like, all of this is going to lead into, because this is all funneling into the reservoir, right? So that's how you know all these low points are draws. This is going to be absolutely fucking disgusting to walk through. So if I was going to take forever, you know, you could walk all the way around it potentially, but this is probably all just more draws. It's probably all just as nasty as far as the game goes. So I'm just going to walk through this. And I'm trying to think of how I want to attack this. So we have our water point here. I might just push north, come off the tip of it, And then I'll know I'll walk into pretty flat terrain, go through another draw, and then come out on the other side, and if that's like 120, that comes down to like 110, yeah, so that's going to be like your low point, and then just on the other side, where it flattens out, it should be to my right. I'm going to try to super hardcore terrain associate. I'm going to see if this works. I might make myself look like an idiot. But there's no real good attack point to this, in my opinion. Maybe you could use this hill. That goes up to like 120, right? But getting to that hill could be difficult too, right? But I guess if you wanted to, you could try to build a route like to this hill. Because the big thing with attack points is it allows you to have a point to go back to, right? If you can get to this point, then you know you're within 200 meters of this. And if for some reason you go to where you think you are and you're not, you just back Azimuth back to this hill and you can restart free of charge. You know what I mean? But I just don't really see a great one. So like this one, or maybe this one, because that's 130, right? I could come out. That could be my backup plan, right? Like if I come out on the other side of this draw and I don't see a point to my right, I can look for this hill that's kind of in the middle of this gigantic flat area and use that as an attack point. So that's how I can terrain associate to a decent attack point, maybe. So we're just going to shoot north. We're going to contour around this water feature. And then we are going to... Let me see. I know I'm kind of talking a lot out loud, and you guys are probably like, what the fuck is he even saying? So with the GM angle, this is probably going to actually be like damn near 0 degrees. So I'm going to come north, cheat maybe a little northwest. Once I hit this body of water, I'm going to make sure I contour it around to the west. And then once it starts breaking back east, I know to just go straight north. Cheat myself west just a little, go straight north. Through this kind of flatter area, come through this draw, and this second kind of open flat area, it may be dense forest, but we know it's at least the same elevation. And if I need to attack this little hilltop here, only a 10 meter difference, so hopefully it's enough for me to really tell, but try to attack this. This goes lower, so I know I have a low point to the right of it. That's a terrain feature I can look for. And if I don't see it, go to this, and then we'll go from there. All right, ready, break. Now that I am terrain associating, crap. Don't really care about my pace count too much, honestly, or my azimuth, right? I'm just kind of generally going north to that body of water. So here's that first draw, right? It was like the quality of life shit that would be nice, like this fucking compass always being right in my way when I try to open the map, but we'll get on the other side of this draw. That's actually a way you can check your compass. Cheat code while you're in a draw. Just make sure I'm still going north, really, is all I'm doing. Try to get through this fucking thing. Alright, still going north. Actually, I can check actual compass now. Like I said, cheating west a little isn't terrible. I can just keep running. I'm looking for that body of water. Oh, but what I was gonna say was, when I started walking north, right, that's that draw, right? This is probably that open area that I'm kind of running through, or maybe here. So I'm either about to hit a river or I'm going around it right now. I don't think I am. I don't see any water to the right. Hopefully I didn't cheat left too far. Okay, that looks like, I think there's water over there, right? Yeah, you can see it. So that's the water, right? So now we're up here, kind of looking, probably like right here, looking over to the right. So let's go down and across. Let's just go straight north now, right? Yep, we'll go straight north. across this nasty little draw. Cheat right, since I just cheated so hard left. Try to get around this stupid fallen tree. You can't climb over things like real life, you can just climb over it, but you can't here. Make sure I'm still going north. And I feel like I drifted east pretty good, so I'm just going to cheat west just to... Well, actually, no, I don't need to, because I actually want to kind of be right in line with this, so that'll do. Make sure I'm going north. Sorry, the controls are kind of shitty, so I keep pushing the wrong shit, and it's not like I've played this game a whole hell of a lot, so... Now we're just running north like a psychopath. Again, I'm just putting my terrain association to the test. See, this is the big, flat, open area, right? Again, I'm just trying to explain the terrain association. We have to be somewhere in here, right? This is the big, flat, open area after passing this nasty little draw. So I keep going, I should hit another draw and come back to another flat, open area. When I come out on the other side of this draw, I should be able to look right and maybe see the point. If not, I can look at this little hilltop as the attack point. See how that works. If this doesn't, like, really compute with you, it is what it is. I don't really know how to explain terrain association better than, like, this. Just kind of trying to point out the features as I cross them. But this is, if you can get good at it, this is what's going to make you fast at Landnav. Because as you can see, I'm covering a lot more distance a lot faster because I'm not having to check my azimuth every 2 seconds, right? So again, I like to do a good... terrain association all the way to an attack point, typically. And then from the attack point, I will do a very deliberate... So this is the other side. So this is where I can look right. I don't see it, but maybe walk along it just a little bit, just to see. It's the downhill. Okay, so I think that's that hilltop, because this is a lower point. Yep, see, it's like kind of all flat around this low point, right? So I think I overshot a little, which is fine. That should be the low point, because that's 110 versus the 120 that we're on. Right, and then just to the left of it is this little hilltop, so this should be our attack point. So now we can actually just be super methodical, right? Because it can be hard to see coming out of a draw, right? There's a lot of vegetation, you know. It could just be easy to miss a sign through all that stuff. But now, right, let's pull out our little fancy-dancy notebook, and let's do a nice deliberate... dead reckoning from our attack point. Now, I keep repeating everything, but I'm just trying to help drill it into your head. From our attack point to our final point. So I got 145. I'll call that 145. And we need to convert that, right? If you remember. From grid to magnetic. Grid to magnetic, we need to add. So that'll be 150 is actually what we're shooting. And it will be... Oops. Click on this and get it to go away. Now, shouldn't have made that go away because that needs to be... Or roughly, what's that going to be? Probably like 100, 200 meters. 175-ish. So, we'll do it on the dot. 175 meters. So this is, again, this is me building a route plan, right? It's not very long because the points have been really short. But this is like, you can get as detailed as you want. So like, if I was doing... I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent. But if I was doing this one, like I could be like, 290 degrees, you know, whatever this is. 290 degrees, fucking however many meters, checkpoint, body of water, right side at 400 meters, right? So you can write it out as detailed as you want to, or as little as you want to. It's completely up to you. Some people need more, some people need less. But for now, we made it to our attack point using just terrain association. If I'm in the right spot, we're really going to put it to the test. But now we're going to do 150 degrees for 175 meters. So 150 degrees right there. And this is where, honestly, I would do some cheek to fucking compass to cheek method and really dial in. We don't care about the string. What we're looking for is the number at the bottom, right? That's our azimuth, right? In real life, that's what you do. You look down with your eye and you would see the azimuth you're shooting, but because it's the game, you can't like look down at it, so it just shows you. So 150, and we are just about, so at 67 will be 100 meters. So let's get to walking. I'm gonna walk about halfway, 150. This is where I'm super deliberate, right? So I'm gonna check this compass quite a few times. Immediately coming out of that, I'm gonna check. I wanna be so spot on. If I have to go around this tree, I wanna get directly on the other side, and I wanna immediately check and keep going. Oh my god, you get stuck on fucking everything in this game. Right bag at 150. You get stuck on something, you get around it, you immediately check that azimuth again and just beamline it. Right, so we've gone 100 meters, so we have roughly another 175 to go. Double check again, 150, keep going. Stuck on this tree, try to get on the other side of it. 150. Take a look around. Okay, so we've gone 200 meters and we're back in a draw. So let's see what we did wrong. We're back in a draw, so I feel like we have to go back up. Let's see, is there a hilltop to our left? What the fuck is this thing, boy?
One eternity later.
Okay, so we're back. Here's what happened. This is actually a super good lesson. What did I not do? I didn't plot twice. So I accidentally read 7-6 for my second set of numbers, right? Because I'm sitting here staring at 1,000 numbers explaining Landnav, which put me there. But it's actually 9-7, right? So it's actually way over here. And then, yeah, 4-3. Yep. So, like, right there. So, what was I doing? Because I'm going to edit out some of the me being lost part, right? What I did was I went down. I did a quick search pattern, which I should probably show you guys. I did a quick search pattern, didn't see it, went back to my point, did it again, did a search pattern, didn't see it, went back to my point, and I was like, okay, what's wrong? So the first thing I checked, plot. Made sure my plot was right, and it wasn't. So, that's why plotting twice is important, and this is also a lesson in not losing your fucking minds, right? Sometimes you get lost out there, and you're probably gonna get lost. Hell, I got lost in the star both times I went, because I had to go to selection twice. And the biggest thing is you cannot lose your fucking mind out there if you get lost. A, you need to catch it as soon as possible, which is why having super identifiable terrain features, checkpoints, all that stuff will help you. Because if you don't hit one of those, and your fucking spider senses start going off, you can be like, okay, I am not where I'm supposed to be. Why? It's like chess. The first mistake won't typically completely fucking kill you. The second one absolutely will. If I went from here to here, right, didn't find my point, and started freaking out, and was like, well, I'm just gonna walk along this ridgeline, because it's gotta be somewhere up here, right? Now I'm walking up here, you know, these contour lines are great, elevation change, blah, 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 but, like, you can't walk this line perfectly and have, like, a pace count to get back to here, to then get back to here, right? So you can walk up here, and then you're like, fuck, now where am I at? You don't even know you're right here, and now you don't even have a point to jump off from, right? So that's why when I came here, did my search pattern, couldn't find it, I was like, I need to go back to my last known location, which was this attack point. Then I tried it again, because I was like, maybe I shot the wrong azimuth, maybe I did a bad compass check at some point, and went off way too far. So I did it again, did my search pattern, still didn't see it, and I was like, okay, I need to go back to my known point. I'm super fucking confident I'm right here, and I need to reassess and figure out why I'm not finding it. Replot, it's right here. So, I am going to replot, remeasure, renote, and let's go find it. I'm actually kind of glad that happened, because I got to take a second to explain. It's easier to explain how to fix a mistake when you actually make one, instead of trying to come up with a scenario in your head. Okay, so we need to go... Oh, alright, what is that? Oh, now my brain hurts. I've been doing Landnav too long. I'm making all this video in one straight go. Anyways, 113, right? Plus 5. Because of the declination diagram, don't forget that. So we're going to do 118. 118 for... How many meters was that? 300? 300 meters? Not too bad. Okay. You can even write... Jesus. If you want. Actually, you don't need to. That'll be fine. This will be fine. So we're going to do 118 for 300 meters. Let's see where that gets us. I did not orient my map north. 118... 118 for 300 meters. 34 is where I'm starting at, so every 34 is 100 meters. It's the only thing you gotta try to remember. Look down and check. 118. This is where you want to do it a lot. Your dead reckoning to your final point. You do not want to drift off this. I really wish you could walk over these stupid little branches. But anyways, let's reset our beads. We've gone 1, right, back on 118, keep going. Gosh dang it. This guy is turning like fucking crazy right now. 118. Keep going. I wish you could... This is... Okay, that's something I don't like about this game at all. You should be able to step over a log. What is this? Alright. It's okay. Better practice, because in real life you don't have to go all the way around that. So if you can do that and keep on your azimuth and get to your point, then you're probably good. Alright, we've gone... What is that? 200 meters? 118. Keep going. We're stuck on another fucking goddamn bump on a fucking log, dude. This is fucking crazy. Okay, get on the other side. 118. Keep fucking going. This is all the quality of life shit that this guy's not going to be able to ever update. There it is. Hopefully. About to find out. 83, 85. Boom, we found it. So, as you can see, right, once we figured out our issue, replotted, reshot it, we just did a good, deliberate dead reckoning, and we walked pretty much right on it. Even with all the bullshit things you have to walk around and you can't just step over them. Right? I was able to showcase the terrain association, right? I was able to do that all the way to this little hilltop for our attack point, right? Didn't need to do a single deliberate azimuth, just kind of did general cardinal directions and used all these dips and valleys, low points, high points, water features, right? That's terrain association to get all the way to this hill, right? That allows you to move there super fast, and then you slow down and dial in, right? And we even made a huge fucking mistake, and I was able to kind of showcase that. Speaking of mistakes, let me go over that search pattern, because that is not something I talked about. So, I'll just use this as a point of reference. But say I walked right here, and I was like, I'm exactly on my azimuth, I'm exactly on my pace count. I look left, I look right, I do not see a point. What do? Do not panic. You will simply do a search pattern. Now, the way I like to do search patterns is straight ahead, whatever direction, then 90 degrees right, then 90 degrees left, and then come back, right? Well, you'll come back each time. So it basically makes like a T or a cross. So for easy simplification, we're going to orient ourselves north, put it on 0 degrees. So the first thing that I would do, I'm at 31, is I would walk 100 meters. Again, I walk up on this point. My direction of travel is 0 degrees. I don't see it. What do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do, personally, I know I drift right. I'm actually going to go left. So you're going to subtract 90 degrees, which in this case it's really easy. You just go directly west at 270. So, and I am now going to walk 100 meters. Very deliberate. Very deliberate. Go around the shit you can't go around. Alright, very deliberate. Alright, 100 meters. I still don't see it. Okay. Now I need to go back to where I was. This is where the back azimuth plays. Right? With the compass, it's super easy. You can do all the math and everything, but you can literally just look down, right? I've got my direct west, 270 degrees. I can look at the bottom of the compass, right? And just see like, oh, 90 degrees. Okay, got it. But if for some reason, you know, the math is easier, all you had to do was subtract 180 degrees, right? So you do your exact back azimuth, and you walk, once again, 100 meters. Stay on your good azimuth. Down, make sure you're on your azimuth. And we're lucky because we have that point right there, right? But the reason this is so important is because this back azimuth and making sure that you're doing exactly 100 meters and exactly using your pace count is because if this sign isn't here, this is just the middle of the fucking woods. You have no way to know if you're in the same spot other than your azimuth and your pace count. That's why they're so important. Okay, so I get back on my 0 degrees. That was the direction of travel. So now I'm going to check that one. Like I said, personally, I like to go left first, just because I know I drift right, but you can do whatever direction you want first. It doesn't matter. 100 degrees out. Actually, I'm not going to do it all. You get it, right? 100 degrees out. Come back to this point. Still not in the right spot. I'll turn to the right. 90 degrees exactly. 100 degrees out. Look around for the point, and then come back to this point. That's a search pattern. If you can't find your point after that, you're probably a little lost, and you need to figure out what happened and try to get back to your attack point. How do you get back to your attack point? The same way we just did the search pattern, right? So we were on an azimuth of, this is why azimuths and everything are so important from your attack point, 118 degrees, right? So all we do, since we are under 180 degrees, we take 118 and we add 180, which will give you 298. I think my math is correct. You can also, if you're just tired as fuck in the woods, again, you can put this on 118. You're just like, I can't do math right now. I'm such a sleepy ranger. Put on 118. You look straight at the bottom of the compass, and you're just like, okay, yeah, 298, got it, I see it. Turn around, right, It's a Sleepy Ranger way of doing it. So now we would go 298. That's our back azimuth for 300 meters. That's all you have to do. And we will walk straight back. We will walk straight back to our attack point from here. And then we can reset, reconsolidate, and figure out why we can't. Just like I did here. Just go right back to the attack point and be like, all right, what went wrong? First thing you need to do, double check your plots. That's pretty much it. I know that was a lot. Probably even still missed some nuanced things. If you have questions, maybe I didn't answer something that you wanted to know, let me know in the comments below. If you thought the video was cool, let me know in the comments below. If you want to see me just play the game live and go along with me and have me do like a Q&A while I do it live with you guys, let me know. Whatever, dude. I'm just here to recruit, have a good time, and mentor, so y'all fucking let me know. But I'll see y'all motherfuckers in the next video. Deuces. Also, real quick before I go, even though I already said peace. It's been a long day. I'm recording all this, like I said, in one freaking go in one day. The whole thing. The PowerPoint class, the gaming, all of it. The video editing, everything. So it's just been a long day. But a few things I wanted to go over that I forgot to in the video. One, training, right? It has lessons, right? It'll tell you how to move, stupid shit like that. But it'll also tell you like the steps of Landnav, right? Know where you are, plan the route, stay on the route, recognize the right, like common techniques. It'll tell you like steering marks, aim off. I've never even heard of that. That might be something cool. Who knows? You know, backstops, right? He shows you to use like this whole valley as a backstop, right? So he probably has, look, he used the hill as an attack point just like I did. Crazy, right? Yeah, so you can use the in-game stuff too, like if you forget something. If you forget something, you don't have to reference, you know, the beginning of the video. You literally just pull it straight up in the game, see if it has it. And then again, if it doesn't, or if I didn't explain something in the video, you can ask me in the comments of the video. You can join the Discord and ask me there. I'm super active on it. Always trying to answer questions. Goes over Dead Reckoning, the GM angle, right? Super important. All that stuff. So that's in here first and foremost. Second of all, I wanted to tell you what to do next, right? You've been playing Landnav, you watched the thing, you've been reading on it, you read the army manual, and you're like, dude, I'm good at this now. Like, I can go do this shit in the woods. How do I do it safely? I don't know if you can hear my kid screaming, but if you can, sorry. He's autistic and he's watching Shrek, so he's a good kid. Anyways, what do you do? How do you do it safely? The first thing you need to do is you need to go to like, you know, public land, right? Somewhere you're not trespassing, you're not going to get in trouble. Honestly, these are usually in the form of hunting grounds, like at Camp McCall, you go out to Hoffman, right? Everybody knows that. And that is public hunting grounds. So when you do that, you also need to make sure that it's not like peak fucking hunting season, like you're not going to get shot or something. And even if it is and you decide to go do it, make sure you have like a super bright vest, all the same shit you'd have, you know, if you were to go hunting yourself, to make sure you don't get shot. And then what you want to do is you want to get a map of the area. Again, my topo will actually give you topographic maps of pretty much anywhere in the United States. So you can use that website to get a map of the area you want to go to. If it is a hunting ground, there's usually some sort of resource that already has that. But if you need to, my topo can help you out. No, this video is not sponsored. It's just what I use. Secondly, you obviously need to let people know where you're going, when you're going. If you can bring a battle buddy, that's even better. But if you're going to go solo dolo, you need to let people know where you're going, when you're going, and you need to have a pace plan with, you know, basically like a comms pace plan. Like, I'm going to message you every hour or so and let you know I'm safe. And, you know, you're going to be in the woods, so maybe you'll have a drop in comms, so you'll just have to have your pace plan of like, if we miss 2 comms windows, you know, you need to come look for me, blah, blah, blah. If you can have some sort of tracker, have somebody track your iPhone, or buy yourself a dog collar tracker, whatever you can do, right, so that people can come find you in the event something bad happens. You need to do that. Again, I don't recommend you do Nightland Nav until you are unbelievably confident during the day. And then you can go practice at night, and all the same safety, features apply. Make sure you bring water, food, anything you would do to go on a hunt or a hike. Don't use a lot of weight while you're learning. I don't give a fuck if you can hump 80 pounds in the woods right now. You're trying to learn Landnav. I give a fuck if you can Landnav. So right now, what you need to do when you go out there is just Landnav. Bring what you need. Don't overload yourself for no reason. Once you're good at Landnav, then you can start adding the stress of like, okay, let's do like, I don't know, a 12-mile ruck march, and then go out the next day with a heavy pack on and go Landnav and see how much that affects my mental fatigue and my decision-making process and all that shit. And then also, very obviously, have a Garmin or something on your cell phone with, if you're going to use a cell phone or a Garmin, make sure the map is downloaded, so you don't lose it or whatever. And I think that's pretty much what you need. And then what you do is, once you have like the area you're going to train on and you have the map for it, go out like 2 weeks prior to your Landnav training and just go use the roads and stuff, get close to where you want to put a point, walk into the woods, and it can be random as fuck, it doesn't matter, just walk into the woods a good 300-400 meters and drop a pin with your Garmin. If there's a tree nearby, you can mark it with tape or whatever if you want to, like engineer tape, to help you see it better. If you want to increase the difficulty, don't do that. Just drop a pin, save it in your phone. Do that for 3 or 4 points. Make sure they're within, a decent area. You can, walk to them all within a day. And then come back 2 weeks later with all those saved points. Give yourself a good start point that's maybe centralized to all those points. And go try to find them. And if you didn't mark the trees or anything, then the hard mode difficulty is you literally do, your attack point to your final point, do your pace count, do your azimuth. And when you think you're exactly where you need to be, just off those things with no visual cue of like, here's a post or here's engineer tape, and you're just like, this is where I'm at, this is where I need to be, pull out your Garmin and see how close you are. That's what I do when I'm practicing. So those are my tips. The biggest thing is safety, guys. Safety, safety, safety. Do not go out there and get yourself fucking hurt over this Landnav stuff. Yeah, just be safe, guys. If you have any more questions after that, just let me know. Actually, peace this time. See you, boys.